Hello. Looks like we are live. I wanted to come on and share some new developments that I've come across in my journey studying colonial magic. So, if you've been following my channel, you might recognize the symbol 181, the sigil 181 that I've created. I channeled that on 5/19 of 2022. What's interesting was that 519 plus 222 equals 741 hertz, your solfeggio throat chakra tone. And 519 days equals 74 weeks and 1 day. So already that was trying to teach me a different way of looking at math and cycles, and it was definitely fascinating. But I'll get back to that 181 sigil and how I channeled that and all that before. I just want to let you folks know that whenever I traveled through, I basically left everything that I have that I built with my sushi catering business, sold everything except for the bare necessities in my Jeep, and I left towards the Four Corners and traveled south through Utah from Salt Lake City and got to the Four Corners and passed through the Hopi tribe, the Navajo Nation. I ended up driving through Flagstaff, Arizona, getting into Sedona and visiting the cathedrals, and I was kind of adapting to not being in my house, and I still wasn't sure what this journey was really all about. I just knew that I had to take this time to go and rebuild the foundation of my life and see what this 181 symbol and sigil even meant, and what was it for, and was it for good, was it for bad, like what is it completely. And so anyways, I drive through Flagstaff, Arizona, Sedona, go down all the way to Phoenix, and get to the point where I'm like, do I go to Mexico or do I go to California? It's like, I go to California. So I go to San Diego and scout, 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 say hi. Say hi. Speak. He doesn't talk. So I went to San Diego and Scout got to see the beach, and we enjoyed a nice sunset, and we stayed there for 3 days, and I just slept in my Jeep and road stops, rest stops along the way, along the highway. I got a couple hotels here and there, but very sparingly, just because I was on a really tight budget. And so whenever I got to San Diego, that's whenever, on the third day, that's when I got this butt hair at my ass to Google the nearest Mason Lodge, nearest Mason Lodges, nearest Mason Lodge near me, and all these Mason Lodges popped up. So I went on a little tour around San Diego, and can't remember the name of that island that's over there where you take the bridge to get over there, but that's where one of the Mason Lodges was, and started to investigate the addresses and the numbers that they were using and all the symbols, and um, I was just in observation data uh, data gathering mode. So I was just getting all my information, and so upon seeing all of these Mason lodges, I noticed that they're always by memorials or always by cemeteries or hospitals, and I was starting to get the vibe that they were honoring the dead. And I don't know how I found it, but I looked up the Indian Removal Act or it somehow just like popped up through my searching of things, and I noticed the date being 1830, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528, and on May 28th, being 528, like the solar plexus chakra running at 528 hertz, I was already just like, okay, this is some information. This is valuable information. We need to hang on to this one, and let's follow. It was a lead. I followed that lead, and I end up going from San Diego to Joshua Tree just because a friend of mine had suggested that uh, like a week or so before that, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Joshua Tree, and went out there, and I'm in Joshua Tree, and I find this little camping place just online, and it was only $30 a night, so I was like, that sounds reasonable, and got to the place, and it was this really cool outdoor camping spot that had a outdoor kitchen, a bathroom that was a compost bathroom, but it was done up very nicely, and it was very well maintained and taken care of. And there was also an outhouse in this other area that was very well maintained. And yeah, so the guy that's running the place, or keeping the place, and like the maintenance person, the one that's like helping the actual owner out, who was actually in the hospital during the time of my stay because she broke her leg, and he's telling me the story of how she broke her leg on his birthday party, which was the Friday before that I had gotten there, and he told me that his birthday was on 11/10, being 1110. Now, before I got there, I'd already found the Indian Removal Act, and I'd already figured out that 1830 in time equals 1110 minutes. So the fact that Desert Dave, his birthday was on 111 or 11/10, was already just like, okay, that's pretty synchronistic. So the next day happens, and I wake up, do my thing, and I'm going out in the little common area, and Desert Dave's doing his little chores and errands for the day, and he was a very he's 75 years old, and he grew up in the desert. He said that he lived 70 years in the desert growing up there, and he was telling about the stories of the gold mining that was going on up in the mountains and in the canyon. And I was like, oh yeah, really? And he's like, yeah, this is the old land. This is the original land of the Morongo tribe. They got pushed out by the settlers and colonists, and now they're up west over there. They own all those casinos up there. And I was at this point, I was just trying to like contain myself, just knowing that his birthday was on 11/10, and the Indian Removal Act of 1830, when in time 1830 equals 1110 minutes, and the fact that he's talking about the Morongo, the original Morongo tribe that were on their land camping, and they got pushed off that land by colonial settlers because of the Indian Removal Act. I was yeah, I couldn't contain myself. I had to tell him. I was like, dude, this is crazy. I'm literally studying this, and just told him that whole spiel that I just told you. But so from there, I end up driving towards Santa Cruz, and I make my way to Santa Cruz, which, oh my gosh, that place. I, that's got to be one of my favorite places I've ever seen. I stayed there for over a week, just sleeping in my car and parked on like I'd find spots to park overnight, whether they were rest stops or the side of just on the street where there was just a nice tall fence to where you couldn't see me from like a home or something. So while I was there, I basically just soaked up the vibe and the ocean and the sunsets, and enjoyed the topography. And I didn't really get into I kind of like took a break from the investigation just to really just soak that place up because it was beautiful. So upon leaving there, I decided to go down to Big Sur, and that's whenever I got down to Big Sur, that's when I got back into the investigation and noticed the Esalen tribe. I believe I'm saying that right. Hopefully, they're the ones that got pushed off those lands completely, taken all of the beautiful lands of Big Sur, which all these ridiculous $1 million homes with so much land, and all those beaches, and all that area is basically private now, and pulled off to one of the little side spots and saw the plaque for the indigenous tribe of that area, and told the whole story. And I was thinking about the Morongo tribe, and then now I was thinking about this tribe, and starting to really like put things together to where I left Big Sur super pissed. They literally they just chemtrailed that area, and Big Sur is literally up on this super high mountain overlooking the ocean, and I was literally driving right through like the mist of that shit. I could literally smell it. Like it had this had a nice smell to it even, but instantly I was just livid, just pissed the entire day. I didn't know if it was from inhaling that shit, or if I was just channeling the pain of the people that were pushed off the land, all the people that experienced just having their homes taken. These were the stewards of the land for thousands of years. All of these indigenous tribes, they were from all the lands of Turtle Island. These were uh, the stewards of the land for thousands of years. So, excuse me, just checking my battery life. I think we're good. So, from Big Sur, I ended up going back up to Santa Cruz just to spend another couple of days up there, and that's whenever I started to check out the Mason lodges up there, and sure enough, there are a bunch of Masonic lodges in Santa Cruz. And so from Santa Cruz, whenever I left there, I started driving east, and a friend of mine told me that I was super welcome to come stay on her 20 acres of land, and this is in Grass Valley, or Garden Valley. So I make my way to Garden Valley with Scotty Boy, and this girl's got 20 acres of land, and she's got 4 dogs and 2 sweet, awesome kids. And um, yeah, Scout was basically in heaven, and he basically stayed with her while I camped out in the woods on her property. And but through that process, there was probably like 7 or 8 days, but no, like I'd say like 9 days where I stayed in the house out of the 2 months that I camped out there. And she ended up taking me to Coloma, this little town of Coloma that was just 15 minutes around the corner from her place. And when I got there, I was once again super baffled, because I saw the first jail that was ever put up in California, in this little town of Coloma, and just feeling the vibe of that town was, I had an instant headache. I felt like I had I felt like I had water like in my brain. It was a weird feeling. I knew I was channeling some ancestral shit. But so I found out there that the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 happened right there, and the first jail built in Coloma was in 1850. And that's whenever I realized that the Fugitive Slave Act and the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 when 1830 in time equals 18.5 hours, and that equaling 110 minutes. I started to put two and two together, and then I realized that the Day of the Dead is on 11/1, and that's whenever I basically just had to sit in the forest and digest, like process all of this, because I wasn't just processing the information, I was processing all of the feeling and the pain and a lot of the experiences, and I felt like I was sitting in that forest just like the indigenous people that were pushed off of their lands, hiding from the settler colonialist, um, just in the forest. So from there, I basically stayed in the forest so long to where the person that I was staying on her land, she she's like, Paul, I think you need to go out and do some shit. You're staying in the forest too long. And she was right. There was weeks where it just rained for a whole week, and I just literally just listened to the rain in silence, and got the sun going down right now. I'm trying to. There we go. Now I just got a line across my face. Put that in my eyes. There we go. So, anyways, I wanted to tell you about some of the journey so you know how I kind of got here, because before I left, I just channeled that 181 sigil, and I built the Djed pillars from the 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99, connecting with the crown 963 hertz, at the third eye at 852 hertz, 77 at 741 hertz, 66 at 639 hertz, 55 at 528 hertz, 44 at 417 hertz, and 33 at 396 hertz, your root chakra. So I built the Djed pillars, and in the process of doing that, I accidentally created this system of seeing time in time cycles in this super deep cyclic way. I'll just give you a quick example. Like, my birthday is 11/18. It's the 322nd day of the year. 11/18, 1118 days equals 3 years and 22 days. See how that cycle just keeps going super deep? It does that with all the numbers. So anyways, she tells me to get out of. She's like, you need to get out of the forest. You've been a hermit for too long, and she was right. So it's like, where should I go? And it's like, you should go check out the mining towns in Grass Valley and in Garden Valley. That's where Aleister Crowley was out here investigating. He was doing. There's stories of him being out here, and he was at Uncle Tom's cabin, and he was traveling down the Rubicon. So I went, and I literally went to Uncle Tom's cabin. I went to the Rubicon. I went to Garden Valley. I went to Grass Valley. I went to Nevada City, and I went to the Round Room, this ritualistic place where it's famous for that Satanist guy Anton Lavey has done some rituals in this place. But I'm an observer. I'm a channeler. I'm not afraid of any of this shit. So I went and studied and got the vibe. And this whole thing started with me reading the Book of the Law. And I'm reading the Book of the Law on 4/8, April 8th in 2021. And I'm reading the Book of the Law, and he's talking about how he's directed by his wife, Edith Rose Crowley. She tells him that he's going to channel the spirit Aiwass. He's going to be channeling Horus, and he's like, all right. So he's on his honeymoon in Cairo with Edith Rose, and on 4/8 at noon sharp, he's channeling Horus or Aiwass, who's speaking. Horus is speaking through Aiwass. So he's getting this information, and it's 1904. I'm like, I want to document my date and time too. I want to be an alchemist and start documenting my dates and times. I go to grab my phone. It's 4/8. It's noon sharp, and it's 2021, exactly 117 days on the dot after that. So just knowing that the number 17 is a famous number in electromagnetism, and also the sarcophagus, the granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the pyramids of Giza, their vibrational value measures at 117 hertz. So knowing that, and then knowing that my grandmother passed away on 4/27, the 117th day of the year, and that evening her favorite tree was struck down by lightning, um, was pretty interesting. And also then knowing that the famous Carl Jung, who's known for his fascinations with synchronicity and all of his quotes about synchronicity and his love for synchronicity and coincidence, he passed away on 6/6, June 6th, and that's the 157th day of the year. And interestingly enough, 117 minutes equals 157 in time. So, on that day, on the 157th day, when he passed away, when Carl Jung passed away, he struck down his favorite tree by lightning as well. So, synchronistic much? A much too much. So my grandmother was born on 6/1, June 1st, and there's 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 times 7 rays of light, 7 rays of light that refract from the white light that passes through a crystal, like our 7 chakras. So 6/1 times 7 rays of light equals 427. She was born on 6/1. She passed away on 4/27, the 117th day of the year. So 427 minutes equals 7:07 in time. 77 minutes equals 117 in time. 427 equals 7:07 in time. 77 minutes equals 117 in time. 427 equals 117 days. You see what I'm saying? So 101, 61 minutes equals 101. 101 times 7 rays equals 707. Pretty fascinating stuff. So another thing is that we have 37, the number 37, we have 37 genomes in our mitochondria, and in time, 370 minutes equals 610, like 61 circles in the flower of life. 37, the date equals 66 days, and the 37th prime number is 157, like 66 equaling 157 days. See what I'm saying? So, just showing you a little bit of what decoding my grandmother's birthday showed me. It's like she was showing me this math through her birth and through her death, and by striking that tree down by lightning, and Carl Jung striking his tree down by lightning. So the gematria for Temple of Solomon equals 606 and 1170. The gematria for King's Chamber equals 660. So let's see if you can all connect and put that together and see the beautiful synchronicity within that. So let's get back to this Indian Removal Act and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and me being in Coloma and seeing the actual plaque of the first jail being placed there. So the first jail that was ever created in Coloma was in 1850. The Indian Removal Act, or the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, was there in Coloma, and this is where also John Marshall panned the first pan of gold, and this was on John Sutton's land at Sutton Mill. A mill is this giant wheel it's like a big giant mill wheel that crushes the ore and the rock, so whenever they can extract the gold and the silver from mining all these rocks, and it basically they create this. They use the Woshu technique to add all these chemicals that basically separates the gold and the silver from the rock, and it floats to the top, and that's how they gather it. So where was I? Yeah, the mill. They're at John Sutton's mill, and I recently found out, now that I'm in Utah, I kind of want to jump ahead over here, that Utah was founded by, the narrative, the mainstream narrative, tells you that the Utah was founded by Brigham Young, but he's he had a battalion of men out here during the gold rush, and they were at Sutton Mill with Marshall whenever Marshall panned his first gold, and they ended up finding gold themselves. But he sent them out here so to pay off his debts from traveling from California to Utah, and that took him 111 days, just like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and 1830 in time equaling 1830 in time equaling 18.5 hours equaling 1110 minutes, and it took him 111 days, 111 days to arrive to Utah, and he arrived on 724 Pioneer Day. This is so Resolution 181, splitting Palestine into two states, creating Israel. This is off of the encomienda system that was released by the Spanish crown in the 1500s, giving conquistadors the right to be able to go into lands and harvest minerals, gold, silver, and anybody on those lands. They had the right to enslave them and either genocide them, enslave them, or do whatever with them. And so the Spanish crown released the encomienda. In Spanish, come means eight, comienda means dinner. So like 181, Resolution 181. So this happened with the Balfour Declaration, starting the British Mandate, and they're basically promising Israel their own place eventually. And in 1947, they handed Palestine over to the UN, and on 11/29, that's when the UN established Resolution 181, creating Israel and separating Palestine into two separate states. So, like the Day of the Dead, on the Balfour Declaration was passed on 11/2, and that's like the Day of the Dead on 11/2. But the Day of the Dead is also on 1/11, 11/1. So Resolution 181 was on 11/29. That was the 333rd day of the year, like 111 plus 111 plus 111 equals 333. So Resolution 181 in the Encomienda Act. So how does that correlate with the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28, you must ask? Well, I'll tell you. So 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528, the date and the actual hertz. 528 is the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. It's the only number that connects the electromagnetic color spectrum with the sound system of the universe. Whenever you look at the number 181, if you flip it 90 degrees, it looks like the electromagnetic color spectrum. And 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days. Come on. So 1830 converts to 630. The date 630 equals 181 days. You see how that works? So Brigham Young, he traveled 111 days to get from California to Utah, and he sent his battalion over to get him out of debt to harvest the gold. And He was also responsible for the Circleville Massacre and also the Timpanogos Massacre. But let's get back to the Circleville Massacre because that happened on 4/21. That's the 111th day, just like Mark Twain passing away on 4/21, the 111th day. And he was known for being an advocate against colonialism. Whenever I was in Virginia City, after I left after I left Garden Valley and Grass Valley and Nevada City, I ended up driving through Nevada and I ended up in Wilson Canyon, and then I found the story on the Wilson family, how they staked claim over there and basically genocided all the people, all the indigenous of that area, and it was literally right next to Mason City. And from there, I traveled to the next rest stop, and I felt like I was going in the middle of nowhere. So after like 45 minutes of driving, I decided to turn around, and it's like this just doesn't feel right. So drove 45 minutes back and then another 45 minutes, and then I ended up in this amazing town of Virginia City. And holy shit, I felt like I'd literally gone back in time. This is where the Comstock lode happened. The one of the largest, most profitable mining lodes was from this Comstock lode, and this the money that was made from this built all the railroad, paid for all the railroads and that were going through those areas. Through like the Pony Express was running through the 50, and I basically took the 50 all the way back to Utah, passing through Austin, Nevada, another little mining town, Eureka, and then Ellie. All of these were like towns that were booming during this mining era, and whenever they basically created whenever they connected the railroad from Sacramento to Promontory Point, this was called the Overland Route, and they also built a railroad from Omaha, Nebraska to Promontory Point in Utah, and this was where they once they met those two train lines together, it basically connected it connected the west like they almost connected the east coast with the west coast. So all the mail, all the money, all the goods, all the agriculture, produce was able to be shipped from east to west with this train system, and it literally created a boom. But what happened to all those mining towns that were running along the 50 through like Virginia City and um, Ellie, Austin, Eureka, and there was one other town, but all these mining towns basically just died because of that transcontinental railroad. Once they created once they hammered in the four golden spikes that were 17.6 karat gold, and there were four of them. 176 times 4 equals 704. The date 704 is your Independence Day. Like this is literally what created this was what created the United States. Brigham Young was in. It says that he was in major debt, and this is what got him out of debt was the harvesting of the gold, and that that took a lot of genocide, and it took a lot of colonizing and genociding to get all that gold. So the fact that the train line from Sacramento to the Golden Spike point in Promontory Point was exactly 1110 kilometers, and it cost $181 billion on the dot. Like there's no change or anything, just $181 billion, like Resolution 181 encomienda, like 1110 kilometers, like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, when 1830 in time equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes. And this guy genociding the Paiutes on 4/21 at the Circleville Massacre. Circleville Paiutes, and arriving in Utah on Pioneer Day. Holy allegorical shits, my friend. So it took him 111 days, 111, to get from Cali to Utah, and he genocided the Paiutes on 421, the 111th day of the year, and he also genocided the Timpanogos tribe. Um, oh yeah, the railroad being $181 billion to create from Sacramento to Promontory Point, and it being exactly 1110 kilometers. Like all of this shit is just uh, so anyways, I get to Utah and I get to the Capitol and I see the plaque that says that he had his brigade up in Marshall at Sutter's Mill, John Sutter's place, and John Sutter was in debt. He's known for enslaving and genociding indigenous people. The Nestlin tribe, the Net the Net uh, the Nessian and the Woshu, the Paiutes. So in Virginia City, there was the Williamson incident, and if you research that, there's an article that says that the Williamson brothers kidnapped a couple and tied them both up and raped the girlfriend. But upon going to the Pyramid Lake Museum on the Paiute reservation, and I actually spoke with the relative of one of the 12-year-old girls that was actually involved in the Williamson incident. There's Once I saw the original article of the Williamson brothers kidnapping two 12-year-old girls and raping two 12-year-old girls, and that's why the whole Paiute War started. So, or the whole Pyramid Lake War, excuse me. So, once there was an Indian or Native American Paiute that was trading in a gun for a horse, and that's whenever he heard the commotion of the girls in the background, and he knew that they were missing from the reservation. So he rode his horseback super quick and told everybody, and that's whenever they came back, and basically, I think they took care of the Williamson brothers, and I don't know, I can't remember the details, but basically they won the first Pyramid Lake War, and then the military beefed up their system and came back, and on the second war they just genocided so many. And there was whenever I was traveling through Ellie, when I was at one of the stops, there was a young kid, and I was telling him my story and telling him the connections that I was finding, and he told me, he's like, hey, my parents are Paiutes. My grandmother was full on Paiute, and she saw the shit and like the stories that they told us. She said that Brigham Young and his crew were literally dressing up as Native Americans and ambushing the military to frame to frame the Paiutes or frame whoever, and the military would go in and retaliate on the Paiutes whenever they didn't even do anything. So there's a lot of that shit going on too. That's not in any of the narrative of any of the stories. It's not documented anywhere. So whenever going to the actual museum and the reservation and meeting the relative of one of those girls was huge. To where once I knew that story, I looked it up on Google and finally found it to where it's in one of my videos. But it just takes a lot of patience and reading. So let's recap here. The encomienda is the order released by the Spanish crown, giving colonialists the right to enslave and colonize and genocide. And this goes back down to like the Jesuits, the Jesuits. I call them the Jesuits. So IXXI is their symbol. That equals 911 in Roman numerals. So the Lemuria, Romo slays his twin brother Remo, 181, like 181, like Resolution 181. This was the story of the fall of Rome. Julius Caesar was stabbed 33 times, and this is in 44 BC. he's assassinated, and that's when the Roman Republic falls, and that's when the Roman Empire begins. So you got to look at it as E equals M, and it's like a square. E equals M. C is a square. The rune for C is a square in Gothic, Norfolk, Anglo-Saxon runes. And so the Lemuria 511 equals 131 days. 511 in time equals 311 minutes. 911 minutes equals 311 in time. Now, 911 plus 181 days equals 311. And on my cipher chart, it lines up with 44 hertz, like the fall of the Roman Republic in 44 BC. So the note re in the solfeggio scale is actually the note D when A is tuned to 432 hertz, and this is the digital root of 9 hertz. So your electron charge equation, 1.6 times your 33 vertebrae equals 528 hertz. So 10 to the negative 19th power just equals negative 180, which is your negative 180 degrees ground, which you need a negative ground to complete a charge when you're working with electricity. So 1.6 electron charge times your 10 to the negative 19th power, like 19 circles in the flower of life, that equals 288 hertz, which that equals note D, equals ray in the solfeggio scale. It's basically vitamin D, it's sun rays. So we have this inner light within where we have this oxidative phosphorylation happening in our solar plexus running at 528 hertz. That's the only number that connects the electromagnetic color spectrum and the sound system of the universe. So it's the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. For the fact that the number 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, and you can flip the number 181 to its side, and it's literally the electromagnetic color spectrum sigil. And whenever it's flipped back up, it's a sigil of our kundalini energies. The two ones are the masculine and feminine energies. One's going down, one's going up. The observation, the pulling in of the energy is the feminine. The projection and the pushing out of the energy, the charged energy, is the masculine. So we have a 5-star mitochondrial matrix within this mitochondrial system that we have. It's made up of 37 genomes. 13 of those genomes are responsible for creating enzymes that are responsible for providing instructions to that 5-star mitochondrial matrix for oxidative phosphorylation. So we're with this like liquid crystal technology. If you've ever rubbed your eyes and you see these interference pattern you're seeing, phosphines, it's um, it's the piezoelectric effect. Whenever you squeeze a crystal or you pull the trigger on a lighter and you get that spark, that's the piezoelectric crystal. Whenever you turn on a stove, you can get that tick, 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 tick. That's the piezoelectric crystal getting banged on. So whenever you're manifesting stuff, like you're manifesting a new version of yourself, like ideas that you've mastered and failed at 100 times to where now it's becoming part of your DNA and it's part of your memory. You can speak it and it's already been integrated, and now it's a part of you. So whoever is controlling the narrative, the storyline, and the thoughts and the ideas controls the knowledge. And whenever knowledge is being withheld from us, it's like there's this higher level of cause and effect and synchronicity that we're unaware of whenever this knowledge is being used, especially the way that it's being used. The knowledge of this colonial magic, like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and that 1830 equaling 18.5 hours equaling 1110 minutes. Why is that number so important? Because from the longest day of nighttime to the winter solstice, 1221, that's when the sun dies on the celestial cross. The sun is dying like the days of the dead on 111, when 111 plus 1110 equals 1221. So from 1221, winter solstice, the longest day of nighttime, to summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, equals 183 days. And if you're Horus, the falcon sun god, you're going to know this shit, and it's going to be important to you, and it's how we fucking measure time, because how it equals 1110 minutes. It's the number 111 is like a solfeggio key in between your chakra solfeggio tones. So your crown chakra 963 hertz minus 111 equals 852 hertz. 852 hertz, your third eye audio minus 111 equals 741 hertz, your throat chakra. So let's start from the bottom. 174 hertz plus 111 equals 285 hertz. Plus 111 equals 396 hertz. Let's start from the heart. 639 hertz minus 111 equals 528 hertz, your solar plexus. 528 hertz minus 111 equals 417 hertz. So this number 111 is a major solfeggio key through the system. So we're made up, we digest orbs of light, and that orb of light information exists within the flower of life, and there's 61 circles in the flower of life, and 61 minutes equals 101. 61 times 3 equals 183, like 183 days between winter and summer solstice. So you see, in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth mentions that we must break free from the halls of Amenti and the flower of life. So it's we're living in this realm where there's a lot of truth, but there's also a lot of bullshit, and we got to be able to see how the truth is being plagiarized and used against us, because this is just shaman mathematics, like building the dead pillars and all those charts of how all those numbers just stack, and seeing how they overlap and equal each other. Yeah, it's like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1830 equaling 18.5 hours equaling 1110 minutes, and 1830 converting into 630 when 630 the date equals 181 days, when 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528, and the Resolution 181 splitting Palestine into 3 states, and that being on 11/29, the 333rd day of the year, when 111 times 3 equals 333. So like the Day of the Dead on 11/1, and I feel like that's just a giant mockery of, oh, we're honoring the dead, but we fucking murdered all these bastards and stole their land. I didn't mean to call you guys bastards, sorry. But that's what they were calling them. I was just imitating them. But yeah, it's just arriving back to Utah in Salt Lake and seeing the Capitol and seeing that plaque of Brigham Young having his men out in Coloma at Sutton's Mill is just a mind fuck. So whenever I was in Auburn City, and I just visited Placerville, which is outside of Coloma. And Placerville, it's so a placer is, it's like there's all these different placers, and it's how like the gold and silver remnants collects around the lake or around the rivers and stuff, and there's just all these different ways that you can notice it and find it. So the town of Placer was known as Hangtown before it was called Placerville, and the reason it was called Hangtown is they hung 5 men from the same tree, and in front of that tree they have a historical marker, which now it's this bar. The tree's gone, but the bar's there, and they have a dummy hanging from the front of the bar, just like mocking the shit out of this whole thing. And the historical marker in front of there is 141, when 101 minutes equals 141 in time, like 61 minutes equaling 101, and 37 degrees in Freemasonry, 370 minutes equaling 610. See how that all connects? Now, whenever I got to Auburn City, I went to the museum and saw that it was also the Placer County Courthouse, and noticed that it was in the Sacramento metropolitan area, and sacrament meaning rituals. So I noticed that the address was 1226 Lincoln Way. Now what's fucked up about that is I already knew that the mass hanging on indigenous people by Abraham Lincoln was on 1226, and for the address to be 1226 Lincoln Way. And then I realized that the address of that place was the Oddfellows Hall that was connected to the museum and connected to the Placer County Courthouse, which courthouse is actually quartz, like quartz crystals, because that's where the chemist, ancient Egyptians would do their rituals and their ceremonies on giant quartz crystal slabs. And quartz crystal is what holds time. It vibrates at 32,768 beats per second, and that's what our piezoelectric crystal technology vibrates at, because that's when sound ends in the human ear and electrical ultrasonic acoustic waves begin connecting to the DNA, just like 528 hertz is the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum, and the only number that connects the sound system and the electromagnetic color spectrum. So 32,768 beats per second, that's the 15th number in the binary sequence. So 2 times 2 times 2, doing that 15 times equals 32,768 beats per second. So 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, 5 times, equals 32,768 beats per second. So the golden angle, the number of photon absorption, the number of broken space-time symmetry equals 137.5. It's the golden angle. 137.5 times 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, 5 times, in parentheses, equals 550 hertz. That's basically the fifth harmonic in 440 hertz in the second octave. But that's how I built the Djed pillar, was with stacking 110 hertz all the way up to 990 hertz, because 990 hertz is a digital root of 9, and that's the bridge out of your crown into a 432 hertz frequency, potentially, if you're able to run on that. So, where was I at? Holy shit. Going all over the place here. Yeah, so whenever I was in Garden Valley and Grass Valley, these mining towns, the first exit for Grass Valley is 181, and then 182, no, it skips 182, you just don't even see a 182, you see a 183 A and B, and then it's the exit says 174 on the first exit, because there's a highway 174 that runs through there, just like your 174 hertz solfeggio tone. So then I pass Grass Valley, and then I see Nevada City, and this is in California, Nevada City, California, and this is right by the Yuba River. And I go drive. There's 3 exits in that town, and the exits are 185 A, B, and C, so that you have your 183 and your 185, just like your Indian Removal Act of 1830 and your Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. So whenever I was in Nevada City, I noticed at one of the Mason halls a plaque talking about the first Mason lodge that was built in Sacramento, meaning sacrament meaning rituals. The Nevada City exit that I took was actually for Sacramento Street. When I wasn't even in Sacramento, they just had to put that sacrament ritual on that exit there, because it was exit 185. So, and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, all this shit is colonial, ritualistic, ceremonial magic, mocking the Horus, the sun god. Oh, I think that's where I got cut off. So Horus Man, a legislator named Horus, like Horus the falcon sun god of Egypt, and he established and advocated for all the public free schools around the country. And who later funded that in 1902? None other than David Rockefeller, aka Cockasmeller. He, yeah, they're plagiarizing Horus the falcon sun god, because this was in 1830. Horus Man is establishing all these public school systems in 1830. Yeah, right. The falcon sun god would have known that the longest day of nighttime to the longest day of sunlight is 183 days, and this is a complete mockery and plagiarizing of the old ancient knowledge. So, Horace Mann. Yeah, there's just so much plagiarizing of these exact same numbers, and whenever I first channeled this back in 2022, I kept saying it's the attack like where our chi is being attacked. The attack of the Fibonacci, and there's nothing wrong with the Fibonacci, and there's nothing wrong with these numbers. These numbers have just been stolen, and it's been they've had this knowledge for so long that they've been able to create this narrative through a long period of time and put all these shitty events onto numbers that are actually within our own chakra system. And yeah, we can't be afraid of our own codes and our own stuff. It's like we have to take the power back, and the more that you just go within and study your inner self, the I, honoring the me within, doing things with feeling rather than for feeling, or doing things for yourself rather than for somebody else, unless you like really uh, unless it's reciprocating back to you. Like that's my advice. I do things to the level of, if it's reciprocating back and it's flowing, I stay with those people in my life. I've basically blocked out all the takers, the energy vampires that just take and take and take and take and take and never give back. And that's just like this colonialist. They've taken and taken and taken from all these indigenous people, and they've never given anything back. They've never reciprocated anything back. It's just been an all-out thievery. So yeah, I want to recap. Brigham Young. He had that. Oh yeah, okay, I remember where I was at. So, whenever I was in Virginia City, and I noticed how the Mark Twain bookstore, the address was 111, and I knew that Mark Twain had passed away on 421, equaling the 111th day, and he was an advocate against colonialism. And the Woshu bar, the Woshu Club, was the millionaire club across the street, and the address for that place was 112, and that's the Days of the Dead on 11/1 and 11/2. And 11/2 is actually 59 days remaining, like the Lemuria on 5/9. Romo slays his twin brother Remo, 1/8/1, like the Encomienda Act. Colonization. So, whenever Romo is slaying his twin brother Remo, when you do the etymology of Ro and Mo, Ro means man, Mo means more, Re means reciprocating hidden wealth, Mo means more. So more reciprocating hidden wealth, or more man. More man slays more hidden reciprocating wealth. So the fall, that's in 44 BC when Caesar assassinated like 44 hertz. Um, so the Roman Republic falls, the Roman Empire begins. The Re is falling, Remo is getting slayed, the Republic is falling. So it's literally talking about the exact same thing. Our inner light is being shunned by this masculine entity that's like double toxic masculine. So the order of the J suits, IXX equals 911. So 911 minus 181 equals 730. 73 mirrors L. When you flip 73, it literally spells the word L, which that's who these people worship. Baal. It's just they're worshippers of the root chakra and the sacrum, and So 7-3, the date equals 185 days, like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Not only that, 7-3 equals 181 days remaining, like Resolution 181, and like Romo eating his twin brother Remo 181, and like the Encomienda Act system, Come means 8, colonizing. So yeah, when the Roman Republic fell and the Roman Empire began, like that didn't just happen overnight. Like those motherfuckers were fighting from the 27 BC to or 63 BC to 44 BC until Caesar was assassinated, and that's whenever Romo slays Remo on 44 BC. And it's just an allegory talking about the 44 Hertz Nazi science that's been indoctrinated into all of us through this Rockefeller Rothschild education system. So the Rothschild skilled the shield. They were Ashkenazis. They're an Ashkenazi family. I got nothing against whites. I got nothing against Jews, but these Ashkenazis, whenever I do the etymology of just that name and that word, that's what brings suspicion to me, because ash, the etymology of ash is like the remains of the dead. Ki is your chi. Nazi is pretty self-explanatory. And these guys funded the wars, the Battle of Waterloo, which Nathan Rothschild funded Sir Wellington, King Wellington, and his Jacob was funding Napoleon, and they realized that if the British side won, it would be more profitable, and so Jacob cuts funds to Napoleon. Napoleon loses, and this happens in 1815. So that 1815 number, it's just another frequency number, because 963 hertz, your crown chakra, plus 852 hertz, or 852 hertz, your third eye audio chakra, and 963 hertz, your crown chakra, added equals 1815. And Lahaina, 808, plus Gaza, 107. 808 plus 1007 equals 1815. Now what's funny about that, or what's not funny about that, is that from 808, Lahaina, the land grab, their new modern way of just colonizing and inheriting the land, is from 808 to 1007 of another land grab of colonizing, is 61 days, like 61 circles in the flower of life, and 61 minutes equaling 101, and 37 degrees in Freemasonry, 370 minutes equaling 610, like 61 circles in the flower of life, 61 minutes equaling 101. So the gematria for ley lines equals 101, which these were happening on major ley line chakra points of the earth. 101. The gematria for Palestine equals 101. The gematria for Maui fires equals 101. The gematria for climate change equals 101. And you know who's got the most giant hard-on for climate change? The UN, the people that who established Resolution 181. And anytime that you research this, you'll see that whenever you research the Resolution 181 online, on any Wikipedia article, it always has in parentheses two ones representing the twins. It's like in parentheses, 1 in parentheses, but it's like LL or II, capital II in parentheses. Talking like literally the twins, Romo and Remo, right in your face, and it's hideous what these people are doing. So remember how Lemuria on 511 equals 131 days, and 511 in time equals 311, and 911 minutes equals 311 in time, and 911, the date plus 181 days equals 311, equaling 44 hertz, like 44 BC, the fall of Rome. See that? Now, let's see if I can remember what the fuck I was saying. My ego. Anytime I stroke my ego and I'm like, see that, I'll forget what the fuck I was channeling. So 9/11, the date plus 181 days equals 311, equaling 43 hertz, like 44 BC, like 44 hertz Nazi science. Oh yeah, 5/11 equals 131 days. So the date 7/3 how equals 181 days remain. 9/11 minus 181 equals 730, mirroring L when you mirror and flip it. 7/3 the date equals 185 days, like the like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, with 181 days remaining, like the Lemuria on 5/9, when 7/3 the date equals 590 hertz on my cipher chart, counting back from 1221, the date equaling 1221 hertz and counting back from there. So the date 730, how that mirrors L, or it mirrors OL, OL, like the owl. They're always doing that owl symbol, these Masons and psyops, Hollywood turd nuggets. Um, they're always covering their eye or some stupid shit. Yeah, 730 equals 211 days when 131 minutes equals 211. So how does 181 equal 131, and how does 181 equal 1331? Let me tell you. So remember how there's 19 circles in the flower of life? 190 weeks equals 1331 days. 190 minutes equals 910 minutes, converted 910 minutes equals 310 minutes, converted from 1510. So 91 minutes equals 131 when 1331 converts to 131. So 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, and 550 minutes equals 910 minutes in, or 910 in time, and 55 days equals 1320 hours when the Lemuria on 5/11 equals 131 days and 132 days on leap year. See how it kind of like fluctuates? There's just that little bit of day of play, and it still ends up working. So yeah, that's how 181 equals 1331 equals 131. And this is sigil mathematics. Whenever I created the Jed pillar and lined up 77 here with 741 hertz, and whenever I started the crown at 1111, and at the third eye audio I started with 1122, and I just counted down in increments of 11 because that was the theme from the beginning. 33 plus 11 equals 44, plus 11 equals 55, and that went all the way up to 99. So 99 plus so basically from the 99 I just skipped everything and just started with the 1111 for the crown, just because it made sense. Oh yeah, it's because whenever I deciphered the word Thoth as a sigil, I basically wrote out positive sign 1, negative sign 1, positive, or O, positive sign 1, negative sign 1, O, another positive sign 1, and another negative sign, and another 1. So whenever you write that out, it literally spells Thoth, but it's showing you that those ones are actually like it's the currents the current that's going in and the current that's going out, the observation and the projection, the absorption and the oxidation. So, and there's also a trinity. There's a generation that's going on inside, but it requires both the negative the negative cathode that's pulling in the energy, the uncharged electrons. It generates a charge, and it's up to the positive anode or the masculine to honor that feminine negative cathode that's pulling in everything. So in essence, what's happening in the reality is that with the knowledge, they're shunning the feminine through the symbology with like the alpha and the omega, the alpha being over the omega, and with the squaring of the circle. Anybody that's doing that shit is they're practicing Freemasonry, and it's a shunning of the feminine, and it's like the masculine, the double masculine, the double toxic masculine shunning the feminine while claiming all of creation for itself. And that's why I have an issue, and that's why I fight for just trying to teach this. And now that I finally have figured out what all this shit is about and what it's for, I'm in the mode of like, how can we create solutions and how can we work together in brainstorming. And I want to teach as many people about this so they can go off and do their investigations, and we can just all keep connecting our work and um, redeeming the truth and undeleting the stories that were deleted of all these indigenous people, and honoring them rather than mocking the shit out of them the way that these people have with this Brigham Young genociding all these people on these dates. And yeah, it's it was crazy to come back to Utah and go up to the Capitol and see the mural of the golden spike literally in where the center of the Capitol, the nipple of the Capitol, when you're inside the nipple or the shaft, the mural of the golden spike was in there. And it's like, man, that was literally all of the allegorization of the railroad track being 1110 kilometers to build and costing $181 billion to build, and resolution 181 being on 11/29, the 333rd day, with the Day of the Dead being 11/1, and 111 times 3 equals 333, and the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, when 1830 equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes, when the longest day of night being the winter solstice, when the sun dies on the celestial cross. That's when Jesus was hung on the cross, and he died on the cross. That's 1221. 111 plus 1110 equals 1221, like the days of the dead on 11/1. Round and round we go in this mocking of the dead, and for us to not be taught this shit, and we're just celebrating these holidays not knowing what is going on, is such a fist in the ass. It's like somebody silently raping you, and it's like, you be kind while I do this to you, okay? You be nice and kind. Don't ask any questions. Sorry for that, but that's how I see it. It's just oh yeah. So Abraham Lincoln sent Patrick Connor to guard the Overland Route. What is the Overland Route? That's where the Golden Spike ceremony was held, where the two trains from Sacramento to Promontory Point and Omaha, Nebraska to Promontory Point, that's where they met. That was the Overland Route. He was guarding the mail route from the Shoshone and the Paiutes and the Woshu, who the Shoshone were the natives of Nevada, Utah, along with the Paiutes, and the Woshu were the tribe of Lake Tahoe, which is shared by California and Nevada. So Abraham Lincoln orders Patrick Connor to go guard the Overland Route. What do these guys have in common? Let me tell you. So Patrick Connor had the Bear Creek Massacre up at Bear River, and whenever I drove to go see the Overland Route the other day, I spent the night at the museum parking lot. The exit for Brigham City was for the exit when I got into Brigham City, just like Brigham Young. You already know that story. The exit for the Bear River Refugee Center was exit 363, whenever the 363rd day of the year. That's 1229. That's the Battle of Wounded Knee, the largest massacre on Lakota men by the U.S. Army. So, what does that have to do with Patrick Edward Connor? Well, the Bear River Massacre happened on 129, and when you count the whole year, that's 12 months and 29 days. Just like 1229, the Battle of Wounded Knee, the largest massacre on Lakota men by the U.S. Army. So I was talking about the 363rd day of the year, just like the exit at Bear River Refugee was 363. Another mocking right in my face. And then I'm in Brigham City, by the way. This was in Brigham City, just like Brigham Young, traveling 111 days, 111 days, and massacring the Paiutes in Circleville on 421, the 111th day of the year. So I get to the exit 365, which 365 is the exit to get to the Golden Spike. That's how many days we have a year. 365 divided by 5 equals 73. The date 73 equals 181 days remaining, equaling your 185th day of the year, if I can speak. Like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, I feel like I'm just a broken record saying this shit over and over, but I repeat myself so the truth may set in. A famous line by the George Bush douchebag of president that guy was. So, speaking of douchebag presidents, Abraham Lincoln ordered the largest mass hanging on 12/26. So, out of 2,000 men, he pardoned all of them but 38. Ended up hanging 38 of those men. This is on 12/26. Remember the Oddfellows Lodge that I saw in Auburn City in Placer County, like Placerville being Hangtown, where they hung the 5 men from the same tree? So the address being 1226 Lincoln Way. Lincoln wouldn't have any other way. So whenever I was here in Utah, this was yesterday, I decided I'm gonna GPS 1226 Lincoln Way. And I get to the first house, and it takes me to the corner house, and the fucked up thing is that the address is not 1226, it's 1811. And if you just eat one of those ones, it's 181, just like 181. So, and the address across the street, right across the street, starting the other side of the block, was 1820, just like the Missouri Compromise of 1820, a victory for slaveholders. And wouldn't you know it, Patrick Edward Connor was born on 1820. That's a sad day for this entire earth. So I get to the next 1226 Lincoln Street, and once again, it takes me to the corner house that starts the block, and it's not the same address. And I'm just finding this odd. Like, I'm starting to feel like an odd fellow, finding all this oddness. The address of that starting block was 2003. 2003 minus 1226, Lincoln's date equals 777. Like the Day of the Dead on 11/1, 111 times 7 equals 777. This shit's too easy. So, there's an intelligence that's like designed all of these cities and all of these towns based on this shit. I'm here in Utah, and there's a town called Mill Creek, and I went to reinvestigate the building where the guys from Skinwalker Ranch all like to meet up and do the little meetings and stuff. And I found this place because I was watching the TV show and noticed the building. I was like, oh, I've been there, and I've seen that building, and it had the Dharma wheels, the circles divided into 8 spaces. And before I saw that place and went to go actually see it for the first time, I had only come up with the 181 sigil and the 1144 monogram, which the 1144 monogram was part of the 181 sigil. I'm just leaving that out to keep things simple and dumbed down, because that's a whole another rabbit hole. So the 1144, whenever I was counting down from 1111 being the crown and 1122 being your third eye and 1133 being your throat chakra, and then 1144 lined up with the heart. And whenever that happened, I was like, oh, I already have the 1144. That just fits right here. Cool. So that was building the Djed pillar. And so the 1144 is at the heart, and this goes down to the 1155, the solar plexus, and then to the 1166 at the sacrum, and then the 1177 with the roots, and then this goes back up to 1188 in the sacrum. And when I got here, I, I later realized that the Queen's Chamber in the pyramids of Egypt measures 11.88 cubits, including the gable, and 1188 is also the 27th harmonic in 440 hertz. So it has a digital root of 9. So it's actually it's just a sacred ass number. So whenever I divided the golden angle, the number of photon absorption into that 1188 divided by 137.5, it equaled 864. Like we have 886,400 seconds a day, and the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles, and that's like the photon is absorbing into that space and coming out solar plexus charged, just like your electron charge. 1.6 phi times your 33 vertebrae column that's connected to the ground equals 528 hertz. Just like your 8.8 alpha waves up top here. 8.8 alpha waves, 88 keys on a piano, 88 days for a Mercury year. The planet Mercury controls the right masculine side of your brain, which is 8.8 alpha waves. 8.8 alpha waves times 60 hours or 60 minutes or 60 digits of time. Yeah, 8.8 times 60 units of time, which quartz crystal sets the time, and we're piezoelectric quartz crystal technology. Our circadian rhythms are based off of how much light and darkness intake we perceive. So 8.8 times 60 units of time equals, you guessed it, 528 hertz solar plexus charge. When did this all start happening for me? This was happening for me in 2021. Um, so, oh, I didn't finish. I'm cutting myself off in so many areas, but I don't. Who gives a shit? Let's just go with it. So yeah, this was whenever I was 44 years old, and 44 years equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz. Now, what was I gonna get at? Dang it, I keep doing this. Yeah, so this all started back in 2021. I read the Book of the Law and got to the part where he was in Cairo, and his wife at the time, Edith Rose Crowley, told him, it's like, you're going to channel ayahuasca over here, and this happened on 4/8 at noon in the year 1904. And when I'm reading this, I document my date and time, and it happened to be exactly 117 years later on the dot. It was 12:21. It was 4/8. It was noon sharp. So whenever I was visiting my friend in Coloma that was showing me all these places with the mining and Crowley and the round room and all this shit, I was like, how the fuck does this girl know about Crowley? It's like, nobody knows about him. And she like actually knew a lot of truth about him. And she's like, yeah, he was studying magic through here. Like that's all I know. Like I know that there was people following him, and it's like I just don't really know his story. So he ended up joining the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn on the date 11/18, which happens to be my birthday. And her birthday, my friend that I was hanging out with, her birthday is the same birthday as Edith Rose Crowley, Crowley's wife. So the fact that we were together and she was helping me with this whole investigation and learning all this stuff was insane. Her mother's birthday was on 11/29, like the fucking Resolution 181, and her grandfather passed away when he was 77, and 77 minutes equals 117, just like my grandmother passing away on the 117th day, and um, her birthday being on 6/1 and 61 circles in the flower of life, equaling times 7 equals 427, when 77 minutes equals 117, and another friend of mine recently reached out to me that he loves Carl Jung, and he's always posting quotes about him. He's like, can you tell me anything about my grandfather's? He passed away on 8/7, and I was like, dude, 8/7 equals 7 months and 7 days, like 7/7 and 77 minutes equals 117. His grandfather was electrocuted, so that's why it was important to connect that with Carl Jung passing away on 6/6, the 157th day of the year, striking his favorite tree down by lightning, just like my grandmother struck her favorite tree down by lightning on the 117th day, with 117 minutes equaling 157 in time. So, just like 337 degrees in Freemasonry and 370 minutes equals 610, like 61 circles in the flower of life, and the 37th prime equals 157. So, the way that all that shit connects, and the more that you see it, the more you'll be able to read my work and all the videos. Hopefully the music's not too annoying, and if it is, just mute it. And I definitely recommend pausing each section and just reading through. And I like to really sit with everything that I read. I don't just read through it, and I don't just read books and be like, oh, I read that book. I read the Kabbalion. I read it twice, and now I know it. I read that shit so many times, and the Emerald Tablets, I read those so many times, listened to the audiobooks, to where it was ingrained into who I was, and that's why I was able to channel all this shit and build the Djed pillars. And Thoth, taken apart, I already told you this, is +1, -1, O, +1, -1, O spells Thoth, but it also, whenever you take it apart in all capital letters, THOTH, the T is 2 I's, the H is 3. So you end up, when you take apart all the lines, you end up with 5 sets of 11s and a 0 on top. That 0 is your crown, and those 11s are the halls of Amenti. And you add a 0 to those 11s, and you have your 110 hertz. And if you add the value going up, you have your 110 hertz, your 220 hertz, your 330 hertz. But you can have it just 1 on 1 going all the way up, and it's still the same shit. But it's literally a sigil of our frequency math within, because it's literally built into the pyramids of Egypt, because the base of the pyramids equal 440 cubits, just like your 440 hertz, and then the Queen's Chamber above is 11.88 cubits. So, and that being, you want your lead to gold formula. So, how do I turn 1188 hertz into 432 hertz using photon absorption? Well, you add gold and you put it in parentheses, because the parentheses are like your inner parents. It's literally the sigils of our Kundalini taken apart. So 1188 hertz divided by 137.5 times 0.02% gold in parentheses equals 432 hertz. Gold, lead to gold formula, baby. Now, O is the feminine, and that represents a circle, photon absorption. Your 16 is your projection. The 14 is your reflection. You have your 7 rays of light, because you're a quartz crystal technology. Your eyeball is literally a liquid quartz. When white light passes through your liquid crystal eyeball, it separates into 7 rays of light, 7 colors, or 7 chakra tones. So 7 rays reflected off of our inner liquid DNA water, or our hexahedron, our breath, our inner monologue when we're reflecting at ourselves. 7 rays reflected equals 14. Now, 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds on a clock. 72 times 72 equals 5184, the angle needed to perceive light refraction, built onto the pyramids, the slopes on the pyramids of Egypt. Now, 72 720 minus 72 equals 648. Our heart dodecahedron DNA is at the dimensions of 6,480 degrees. And that's so 432 hertz times 15 equals 6480. Your 288 hertz, your note D, your ray, your solfeggio tone, your vitamin D, your sun rays, your digital root of 9 hertz. 288 hertz times your 15 equals 432 hertz. 432 hertz times 15 equals your 6480. How does 15 equal 0? How can I prove that? Well, 360 degrees is a circle, and 15 days equals 360 hours. There's your proof. So, where am I at? Oh yeah, whenever you add all 7 solfeggial tones, 963 hertz plus 852 hertz plus 741 hertz, your throat chakra, plus 639 hertz, plus 528 hertz, your solar plexus, plus 417 hertz, your sacrum, plus 396, it equals 4536. Now when you divide 4536 divided by your 7 chakras, you get the number 6480 again. 648, your heart dodecahedron DNA. So 4536 plus 648 equals 5184, the angle needed to perceive light refraction. So you see, 5184 times your 5 star equals your 25,920 baktun. So your 6480 is in your heart. That's your heart DNA, your heart multiverse. So 6480 times your 4 chambers of the heart equals 25,920 baktun, precessions of the equinox, your inner heart multiverse. Let's see. Yeah, so we have, when you overlap a compass over a clock, the 30-degree mark overlaps over the 5-minute mark. We have 30 degrees in between zodiac signs. There's 30 degrees of arc for 1 pendulum second. 30 degrees also lines up at the 1 o'clock. So 30 days equals 720 hours, equaling 43,200 minutes, equaling 25,920,000 seconds, like 25,920 baktun. And this also equals 8.22% of the year, just like how on my calendar cipher I've got 822, the date equaling 1100 hertz, and it's also equaling 234 days, mirroring 432 hertz, and 234 is the 23.4 degrees is what our heart tilts at. That's what the earth tilts at. 90 degrees minus 23.4 equals 66.6. The earth travels around the Milky Way galaxy, or the earth travels around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. And the Schumann resonance is 7.83 hertz. 783 minus 666 equals 117 hertz. That's what the King's Chamber sarcophagus vibrates at. So 23.4 degrees the earth tilt times 5 equals 117 hertz. So you see, the earth, or the sun, and all the planets that revolve around the sun travel around the Milky Way galaxy at 828,000 kilometers per hour. Now, 345 Pythagorean right triangle, 345 days equals 8,280 hours, like the sun traveling around the Milky Way galaxy at 82,000 kilometers an hour, 8,200,000 kilometers an hour. And also 345 Pythagorean right triangle plus 345 equals 690, like your sign of Cancer. So the sun, on summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, the sun is transiting the sign of Cancer, sitting at 90 degrees square on the zodiac sign, on the zodiac wheel, the symbol sigil for Cancer literally is a 69. So 621 divided by 90 degrees square equals 6.9. 690 minus 69 equals 621, summer solstice. The summer solstice is 172 to 173 days. 172 plus 173 equals your 345 Pythagorean triangle. Round and round we go. 69 times 12 notes in music equals 828, like the sun traveling around the Milky Way galaxy at 828,000 miles per hour. I was born on 11/18 at 8:28 a.m. And whenever you count back from 1221 equaling 1221 hertz on my calendar chart, when you get to 126, January 26th, it actually equals 0 hertz. So that's like the 0 point in the calendar, and that literally equals 137 days after 9/11, which is another pivot point in the calendar. But 126 mirrors 621 summer solstice. So from 12, counting back even further, and when you get to 11/18, it also equals 69 hertz. So 1221 minus 1221 minus 33 days equals 11/18, my birthday. 1221 hertz minus 33 hertz equals 1188 hertz, your Queen's Chamber. So on my calendar cipher, my birthday lines up with the Queen's Chamber at 1188 hertz, and it ends up being the 322nd day of the year, which my grandmother's birthday is on 6/1, like 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equals 101. 610 minutes equals 1010. My father's birthday is on 1010. My son's birthday is on January 22nd, 122. 61 plus 61 equals 122. On the date 610, that lines up with 161 days. 161 plus 161 equals 322. My birthday is the 322nd day on 11/18. 161 phi times 161 phi equals 25,920 Baktun plus 1. Pretty interesting stuff. This is what I've come up with through my journey and connecting all this shit. And yeah, to follow up, it's I'm at the 137th minute on this video, and I'm literally down to my last $200. I haven't been working. I sold all my shit. I've been on this mission, just focusing everything that I have, building this so I can know it and understand it and speak it and teach it. And now I'm basically like kind of fucked. But I feel really, really good about things because I've created this knowledge and I have something to build from, and I know that this is something that's purposeful and meaningful, and I'm honoring the indigenous people by bringing their stories back and doing it where we're not trying to mock them or like do any type of shady shit with this knowledge. We're trying to literally honor these people. And yeah, if you want to support my cause, follow me on Instagram, Paul Menares, or on my Facebook. I have all my information for donating and supporting this cause, because I'm trying to be like the new age journalist, but no companies are hiring anybody covering the stories that I'm covering. It's like this is more for the people and raising consciousness and awareness. And the more that we know these numbers that are literally our frequencies within that connect with all of our chakra systems, like the level of synchronicity that it brings in your life it's incredible. Like that's the only thing that's been like super amazing, is just watching how much synchronicity that's been in the reality, knowing how these numbers of frequency connect with us and connect with the reality and connect with time and cycles, and just allows you to zoom in and zoom out and from all these different angles and seeing things from many different perspectives. And yeah, this isn't the last that you heard from me, unless my phone, if you don't hear from me anymore, that means my phone got shut off and my car got repoed, because I'm over 10 days late on my car payment, because I don't even have it right now, and I've been living in my Jeep for the past 3.5 months with my dog, and yeah, just trying to finish up this project and trusting that the universe is going to provide in some shape, way, or form. Because this isn't the first time that I've been in a situation like this where I had to trust the universe and things were falling apart. So, but this was, I chose this myself. That way I could put all of my energy rather than uh, just being distracted with any other type of work or any type of project. I literally gave everything that I had for this to go sit in the forest for 2 months and finish this and finally figure out what all this shit means. And now that I know that they're plagiarizing the knowledge with his story, yeah, this is time for us to take this shit back and rewrite our stories and bring back the stories of the indigenous just by us giving a shit and doing the research. And in the process of researching this stuff is there's a lot of magic and a lot of synchronicity behind it, because there's a hidden knowledge that was stolen from us and used against us that was literally our ancestors' knowledge, and it's just being mocked. And yeah, these motherfuckers are using it, gallivanting around with all their like shit that's just like polluting the shit out of the earth in less than 100 years of having Turtle Island, which the caretakers of the land ran these lands for thousands of years, and everything was nice and pure and clean. In less than 100 years, this place is completely gone to shit by these people that just keep building this crap that's it only lasts like 5 or 10 years before it literally turns to shit. Whenever you look at all the ancient stuff, they made stuff that was timeless that's still standing to this day. And yeah, the shit that we build and use, it literally mirrors our reality and mirrors us as our consciousness and our physical selves, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So I'm gonna leave you folks with that. And it's getting a little dark out. You guys can't even see me. You're just like staring at a black screen. So much love, many blessings. I pray that you find some magic in your day and some synchronicity in your story and start documenting that shit. Where can you find my work? Here on YouTube, my videos, and my Instagram account and my Facebook account. I'm at Paul Munarriz, PaulMunarriz, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And I write a lot. There's a lot of shit you got to go through, so it's just like sifting through whatever is resonating with you. And yeah, love you guys. I'll be back doing more of this and teaching more about the Djed pillars. It's just we have to kind of rip the band-aid off of the wound and see what's going on with the plagiarization of this knowledge, so we can protect ourselves and not be having anybody casting no damn spells on us. You know what I'm saying? So we are on a day where there's already been 5 X-class solar flares in less than 21 hours. Holy shitballs. I am not surprised that all of this knowledge came through. And yeah, these people, yeah, all of our history is bullshit. Bottom line, it's been just plagiarized to where, yeah, I'm starting to think Tartaria. Like all the buildings, and there's so many buildings in Salt Lake that the narrative says that they were built in 1 or 2 years, and there's just no way possible. It's an insult of our intelligence. There's some other hidden history where all the buildings that were here were literally built using these frequencies of 432 hertz and the frequencies of the universe and the solfeggio tones and music, to where whenever you looked at it or whenever you're inside these buildings, they were resonating with these frequencies, and they torn all that technology down and dumbed down all of the buildings to where we literally reflect the crap that is everywhere. So much love, y'all. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back.